Hello, everybody, and welcome to the ultimate Sanibel and Captiva guide of 2024 as of March. My name is Isabella Baker, and I will be your tour guide today. So, to give you my credentials, in case you needed them, I have been vacationing here for sure 10 plus years. I want to say the exact number is 12 to 13 years. We come once every year for sure, and then sometimes twice, as in spring break and summer. So now you know that I know what I'm talking about. So I will be going over as much as I can with, because Hurricane Ian, not a lot is open, but a lot of things are in the process of being rebuilt. So I'm going to touch on as many things: open restaurants, upcoming restaurants that are going to be open, businesses around the island, so on. So that's what we'll be talking about. And we're not just going to be talking about Sanibel Island, we're going to be talking about Captiva a little bit as well. I'm not as familiar with Captiva as I am with Sanibel, but I will be touching on Captiva because Sanibel is Captiva's sister island. So, we're going to be moving on to our first section, which is beaches. Enjoy. So that beach that you just saw right there was Bowman's Beach. Bowman's Beach is a very popular beach on Sanibel, if not the most popular. And it's popular because it's good for basically your beach day. If you're planning your beach day, you're going to want to go to Bowman's Beach instead of like the Lighthouse Beach. And we'll touch on that next. But Bowman's Beach is perfect for, getting your exercise. Then you can walk a long ways either direction. Um, Perfect for shelling, um, swimming. I know people fish there. So really everything, for your beach day. You do have to pay to park, and I know people don't know this, but you do have to pay to park at this beach. It's I think around $4 to $6. And if you don't want to pay the $4 to $6, that's fine. You can just pay the $150 fine later. It's okay. It's okay. But you have to pay to park. And just so you know, what my grandmother and I experienced was that this beach, from the parking lot, is a very long ways to the beach. Like, you are not going to want to bring your large amount of toys for your kids to this. It's so long. It's about a little less than a track lap to the beach. A lot of a lot of people were complaining about it on the way there, but just so you know, it's a long walk. But there are restrooms and those spouts to clean your sand off your feet or whatever you need to clean it off of. Those are there too. So that's Bowman's Beach for you, perfect for your beach day. And next, we're going to be talking about the Lighthouse Beach. So if you couldn't tell, we're at the Lighthouse Beach. Um, it's more that beach is more for tourists and shellers and fishermen. That is personally, it is not a beach I would stay on my beach day. There's just way too many people. You have tourists for the historic value of the lighthouse, and then you have your serious shellers. So not somewhere I'd stay and play. But speaking of shelling, on this beach, from what I've heard, you are more likely to find a Junonia. And you might be wondering, Isabella, what's a Junonia? The Junonia is the rarest shell on Sanibel Island. It is so rare that if you find one, you will get your picture taken in the newspaper. So if that doesn't motivate you to find it, I don't know what will. But the Junonia shell is about yay long. It's white with brown dots. So there's the Junonia shell for you. But as you could tell in the video, the lighthouse is currently under construction, as is a lot of other things. The lighthouse broke a leg, but that is under construction. And if you remember, or if you know you don't remember because you've never been, there were historic homes behind, or historic buildings behind the lighthouse. Those are gone. They've been washed away. However, there was a path, and that is currently being rebuilt. I don't think the homes are being rebuilt, so those are gone. Just so you know. Again, like Bowman's Beach, you do have to pay to park $4 to $6. If you don't want to pay that, you can just pay the $150 fine later. You know, no big deal, no biggie. But that's the Lighthouse Beach for you. Again, very popular with shellers and tourists. Just not somewhere I'd stay for hours at a time. So next we're going to be talking about my favorite beach on Sanibel. So this beach that you just saw was the No Name Beach. It is the beach that stretches across East Gulf Drive. If you are renting a condo on East Gulf Drive, so let's just say Sanibel Moorings, this will be the beach you're most likely going to come to. This beach is perfect for a beach day. You know, stay hours at a time. Usually it's jam packed at 9. 9, I would say, is usually very busy. Perfect for shelling. There are rows among rows of shells. In fact, if you go to that beach at 6:30 like I do, you're gonna see a lot of people, a lot of shellers, and a lot of walkers. And speaking of walkers, from Sanibel Moorings to the lighthouse, it's about a mile. So if you're bored, you can just walk to the lighthouse and go see that. Um, so as I said, it's perfect for your beach day. Usually it's jam packed at 9. Um, that's all I have for that beach. You know, perfect for a beach day. Next, we're gonna be going to Captiva, North Captiva specifically. So what you just saw was North Captiva Beach. Um, it isn't just a beach, it is also an island. You can only get here by boat or by plane, but this is a beach that's perfect for shelling. My grandmother and I went on a shelling cruise here through Captiva Cruises. Just so you know, 5 out of 5 would recommend you go shelling through this company. Um, there were a bunch of shells on this beach. But if you want to find a deeper a deeper variety, go into the ocean. I found a lot of broken shells, a lot of the same variety of shells. But if you want, a deeper assortment, go into the water. That's where a lot of people found their shells. But although the island, the island is long, you can walk a long ways in either direction. I'd also recommend going through the width. That's what my grandmother and I did. We found a little hidden patch, so we walked the width. And it not only was in a nice setting, but we also found a ton of king conch shells that unfortunately had tenants in them, and as much as I wanted to take them out to take a king conch shell, I couldn't do that. But there were lots of them. So not only did we find king conch shells, but we found some crabs. And that was just going through the width. I never found any going lengthwise. So if you find a little patch to go through, I'd recommend going because you never know what you may find. So that's North Captiva Beach, good for shelling. I know a sunset cruise stopped and people were gonna be there for a few hours. So there's that. All right, we're gonna head up to the next section. So actually, I lied to you. Before we get to our next section, which is Jay and Ding Darling, here's some beach tips because I just threw a ton of beach slides at you. Really, this is information I've already read. Stake your claim early. I'm talking about get up at 7, put an umbrella down, put a chair down, claim your spot so it doesn't so you get a good spot by the time you get there at 9 or whatever time you cover the beach at. Usually by 8:39 beaches will start getting packed with people. Depending on the time you go. So really stake your claim early, March through August because beaches will get packed pretty fast. Some beaches, like I said, Lighthouse and Bowman's, you do have to pay to park. So watch for the signs that tell you to pay to park. It's around $46. If you don't want to pay that, that's fine. You can just pay the $150 later. It's no problem. No problem. The lighthouse beach, as I said, is more touristy because of the historic value of the lighthouse. Although the historic homes are gone, um, Lighthouse Beach is more touristy. Not somewhere I'd stay for my beach day, but it's really there to look at the lighthouse and then you're done. Other beaches include that I didn't mention are Tarpon Bay, Blind Pass, Captiva Beach, and I think a couple more. But those are the other popular ones. So now we're going to escape the beach and go to one of Sanibel's pride and joys, J.M. Ding Darling Wildlife Refuge. So, while not the greatest of videos to show off Sanibel's pride and joys because it was a very rainy day, that was J and Ding Darling Wildlife Refuge. It is humongous. It comprises a third of Sanibel Island, so it's big. Um, there is a 4-mile path that you go through, not a loop. Path ends on Sanibel Captiva Road, so you can drive through, walk through, bike through, whatever. All there is a fee. Um, to drive, it's $10. Anything else, it's I think $1, $2 maybe. There's lots to see, lots of overlooks. What was closed for me, but might not be closed for you, are trails. So there's a mound trail, there's an alligator trail. Um, yeah, just a lot of trails within that. Um, Not just trails, but there's also a lot of wildlife species. Um, there's a total, from what I saw, was 245 plus bird species, with the most popular being the pink spoonbill. That is like the mascot of the refuge. It is the bird you see in all the advertisements. Unfortunately, we didn't see any, but I hope you see some when you go. What I recommend doing before you go on the 4 mile path is going into the free exhibit that gives a history of the refuge, of its starter, Ding Darling, who is not just an environmentalist but a cartoonist. And you can also look at other environmentalists as well, like Teddy Roosevelt, Jimmy Carter, etc. And there are a few interactive exhibits as well as a gift shop. So that's really all I can say on the refuge. I hope you see a lot. Do stop at all the overlooks and all the trails so you can get the most out of your experience. I do want to say, going through this, it'll take up about 2 hours of your time. So if you're not here for a long time on the island, don't go. Have fun on the beaches. But if you have a week or more, I'd go to Jan Ding Darling Wildlife Refuge. So we're going to be heading on to our next section now. So you might be wondering, Isabella, what did we just see? Because it wasn't a lot of shops. And all I can say is I'm sorry. A lot of the shops weren't open when we went. There just wasn't a lot of shops. So I apologize. However, when you go, there will a lot more shops will be open. I can tell you that right now. A lot more shops will be open. So really my video was just a taste of what the exteriors of plazas looks like that you will see when you go shopping. So here are the popular plazas that you will most likely go to when you're out shopping. First is Jerry's Plaza. This has a liquor store, so you can party hard. If you need your liquor, go to Jerry's Plaza. The grocery store for your grocery needs. There's a shoe store and a clothing store. I do recommend the clothing store if you don't just want your Sanibel merch, but also a nice outfit. I bought a nice outfit that's island print, full on island. You will see me from a mile away in that outfit. But I look snazzy. Next is the Blue Giraffe Plaza, formerly known as Periwinkle Plaza. This has Lily Pulitzer, that will be reopening soon, Chico's, Pinocchio's Ice Cream, Congress Jewelers, and Beach Daisy. And let me tell you, Beach Daisy is an expensive store. I saw the sweater, thinly knit sweater, multicolored. I'm like, this looks fabulous. Until I turned over the price tag. $200. No, I walked out. Cheeseburger Plaza. This one is Tahitian Gardens. I'm pretty certain. Yes, Tahitian Gardens. The popular places in these are Cheeseburger, which is a 50s themed restaurant that we will touch on later, and Adventures in Paradise. Adventures in Paradise is another clothing store I would highly recommend going to, as this holds your Tommy Bahama. These are very nice outfits. I bought at least 5 outfits from the store. Very nice store. But the standalone stores are Mango Bay, which I don't recommend for your Sanibel merch. I'd rather go to Emotion. Mango Bay holds a lot of surf style retail stuff. I did see some Under Armour. Emotion is where all your tourist stuff is. This is a tourist store. Macintosh Books, if you want to get a book, because Jean's Books is closed. And she sells seashells, which is pretty self-explanatory. So we're gonna move on to our next section. that video of me going like this, to this, to this, to this, was just to give you a taste of around the island. Not everything, not a lot, but just the main areas you'd be going to a little bit. So I'm just gonna quick fire. To get bait, go to Whitney's Bait Shop, Whitney's Bait and Tackle. It you can also get a fishing license there. I want to say $15 a day. $15 a day, I think. But you can also get your fishing license online, just so you know. To get a mani-pedi, haircuts, massages, go to Sea Oats. If you are a religious person, there are many churches on the island. St. Michael's, which is Episcopal, St. Isabel's, which is Catholic, Sanibel Community Church, and Sanibel Congregational. Moving to Captiva, if you want to drive with your Starbucks and just look at homes you can't afford, because now you can look at the sidings of them, not just the facades, you can go to Captiva. Also, if you want to look at boats you can't afford, I would recommend Grandma Dot's, just so you know. There are lots of condos to look at, an exuberant amount, which we will touch on later, but there's a lot of condos around the island. And if you didn't know this already, there are no traffic lights. There is a crossing guard, I want to say there from 9 to 6, rough range, rough estimate, but there are no traffic lights allowed. Also, I don't remember if I mentioned this or not, there are no chains allowed on the island. There are only 3, Dairy Queen, Subway, and Starbucks, but other than that, you will not find any chains. It is all locally owned businesses. So that was around the island, and now we're moving into a very hidden gem on the island. So here you go.
Yes.
So as I said to you, this was a very hidden gem. It is so hidden that not only did I not know about it, but my grandfather, who's lived here for 10 plus years, didn't know about it either, and he's a history buff too. So this is a very hidden gem. First of all, I didn't put this on here. If you're here less than a week, I wouldn't recommend going unless you're bored. But if you're here more than a week, I'd see it just like Ding Darling, so you can just get the fullness, the full experience of the island, history and all. This place has around 8 to 9 buildings. Each of them are very interesting. However, we could only walk through 5 of them, safe to say, probably 4. However, those other buildings should be open by the time you go on vacation. Those buildings include Bailey's General Store, Sanibel Schoolhouse, the post office, and Morning Glories, which is a Sears catalog home. And I thought that house was pretty cool, to be honest. This whole place is cool to see if you're a history buff. If you're not a history buff, I wouldn't recommend. This village can be guided or self-guided. You do see a 15-minute video going over the history of each building before you tour either by yourself or with a docent. So that is just what I wanted to share with you, just in case you were interested. So next I'm going to be showing you the art gallery and the library. if you're still bored on vacation from the historic village, right next to it, you're in luck. There's the Art Center. The Art Center has become the new community center. It holds galas, art shows, events, many things. Um, it also has a gift shop and a gallery that I didn't know, and neither did my grandfather, that is open to the public for free. Um, the gallery we saw was some paintings and then some 3D structures. And some of the 3D structures were cool, and then some of them were like, why? But you know, art is open for interpretation. Um, after that, what you also saw was the library. Um, I just showed you in case you had any interest if you wanted to rent a book out. And just to let you know, on top of the library, there's also Macintosh books if you want to buy a book, because Jean's bookstores are closed. Um, in case you needed the address for the island, there's an image with the post office. So really, that video was just to show you, because not this is the ultimate guide, as well as if you as a tourist were interested in these things. So I'm taking care of you. Don't worry, I'm taking care. But this was just to show you the hidden parts of Sanibel. So next section is my favorite section. Get ready. So when you come to Sanibel and Captiva, not only are you going to want to know where you want to stay, the beaches you want to go to, where you're going to shop, the most important thing is where you're going to eat. I got you covered. The first video you saw was of Timbers. It is my favorite restaurant on the island, very consistent with everything even after Ian. So the first bullet point I have on my list is that Timbers is an oyster bar, very well known for their oysters. I'm going to start off with what I recommend, and that is their bread. My family knows me well. I have at least 5 slices slathered in butter every time I go. The bread is the most delicious I've ever had. Like Texas Roadhouse, Red Lobster, no, they can't compete. It's over. Timbers has the best bread. It is so good. But also what I recommend is the Oysters Rockefeller, which is a baked oyster with spinach and cheese. Um, I only had it once and it was very good. I do also recommend the oyster flight. You can get 6 total oysters, 3 different kinds. So 2 of one kind, 2 of another kind, 2 of another kind. So it's just a way to try out different oysters. Um, the oyster kinds do change, I think, every day. There's also the paella, the peach mango mocktail, the crunchy shrimp, or really their crunchy anything is good. Their sesame crusted tuna, their blue crab bisque, which is thick and has giant clumps of crab, and their chocolate cake. Not as delectable as the bubble room or Grandma Dots, but this is third on my list as in chocolate cake, or in chocolate cake. I do not recommend the peel and eat shrimp unless you want to scoop out the poop and then have some behind. I don't recommend the peel and eat shrimp. It is a nautical themed restaurant, uh, and as you're going to see in the next few videos, a lot of the restaurants on Sanibel are themed. Timbers is themed, kind of like a ship, seaside kind of theme. There's no set way to describe it, but that's the best I can do. It does have a raw bar. It has a sushi bar on select days, and it does, while you're waiting, have a drink bar. The wait time, because I want to make sure you're covered. I want to make sure you know these things. Before Ian was usually a 20 to 30-minute wait. This was one of the restaurants you didn't have to wait long for. During my spring break this past week, we were able to walk right in. So this is not a bad waiting time restaurant. All right, what's next on our delectable restaurants to choose from?
You want to wait for Grant to die?
So, coming into this restaurant, coming in from a calm night in Sanibel, you're walking right into a Mardi Gras party full of lights, Mardi Gras decor, live jamming music, and Cajun food. This is one of the best restaurants on Sanibel, I would say second to Timbers. As I said before, it is a Cajun New Orleans style, and it is a very festive interior reminiscent of Mardi Gras, and there is live music. I do recommend the swamp pasta if you're an adventurous eater. It has gator tail, crawfish, and frog legs in an Alfredo sauce. Very good, very good. There's also the hot lobster roll. Now you might be saying to me, Isabella, I thought there was only cold lobster rolls. No, no, there's hot lobster rolls. When my grandmother said it, I was like, what? I was glad I got it. It is cold lobster rolls is mixed with mayonnaise, vegetables. The hot lobster roll at Mudbugs is just lobster chunks in a roll. There's nothing mixed in. And that's what I love, whether I get crab cakes or anything, with seafood. I just want the chunks of this. I want the meat. I don't want any stupid vegetables. The hot lobster roll, perfect. I recommend the crawfish etouffee as well. And if you want a Cafe du Monde experience, because you are in a New Orleans style restaurant, I get the beignets and coffee. And dip the beignets in the raspberry jam. Beyond delicious. Beyond delicious. Before Ian, the wait time at Mudbugs was 15 to 25 minutes, so not too long of a wait. It's usually packed. And they do sell merch. Just saying, if you're interested in merch, I got you covered because I'm telling you which ones sell merch, and Mudbugs is one of them. So, next restaurant. So now we're gonna scooch on over to Captiva for a little bit. And the first restaurant I have is RC Otters. Unfortunately, I don't have much to say. It is just an average restaurant. This is a restaurant that just doesn't stand out to me at all. But it's located on Captiva, right by the Boba Room, right by Captiva Cruises. There is live music for lunch and dinner sometimes. Because I've only been there once that I remember, my crab cakes were good. And like Mudbugs, this just has the crab meat. No stupid vegetables mixed in, because we don't. You're here to taste the seafood. So the crab cakes were good. They serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They have a very extensive menu. This restaurant, I did realize, is more for families. Um, yeah, that's all I have on RC Otters. We're gonna be moving to the Bubba Room next. So while we are waiting for the best restaurant on both the islands to open, slated late August, They do have two buildings you can go into. First is the gift shop, which is the building right by RC Otters. This sells vintage candy, very nice clothing, very soft shorts and sweatshirts, very soft. Dirty phrase socks, fun things. So there's the gift shop. It's been there even when the bubble room was open. But Boops was opened after the bubble room was destroyed, and it opened to sell their famous cakes. They don't just sell cakes though, they do sell coffee, ice cream, sandwiches, and other pastries. But here are the cakes that I recommend that you get, and that is the moist chocolate cake, the French tort, red velvet, and white Christmas. This is a must stop, whether you're just vacationing on Sanibel or not, even if you're on Captiva too. This is a must. You have to come here. You have to try the cake. It is a Sanibel and Captiva staple. I cannot stress to you enough. You will not be sorry. Okay. Speaking of Bubba Room, Boops is also themed Old Hollywood and Christmas. Across the board, it's Old Hollywood and Christmas themed. Just so you know. So each building is fun. Bubba Room is slated to open late August. That's all I got on Boops, and now we're gonna transport back to Sanibel.
I spoke to my son, so.
So first of all, I just want to say I'm sorry for that hurried video. Not a lot was shown, but it is what it is sometimes, and I apologize. But anyway, that's Doc Ford's Rum Bar and Grill. The name is based off of Randy Wayne White's book character Doc Ford, and you can find Randy Wayne White's books on display while you wait. You can read synopsis, chapters, whatever you want. They also sell merch at the entrance, shirts, drink koozies, etc. It is a very casual restaurant. You don't have to get dressed up for this restaurant like others, so it's just very casual, nice to go with your family. Um, I do recommend the beach bread as an appetizer. It's like garlic bread with tomato cubes and blue cheese. Their seafood paella is really good. So is their banana leaf snapper, and I think they turned it into their banana leaf grouper, I believe. While I personally haven't tasted it, but it is in the name, I do have to recommend their rum, and I heard their mojito was good as well. Um, Let me just talk to you about the special. The special was very special. It was beyond amazing, and it is something they have to put on their menu soon because it's just that good. It was squid ink pasta with scallops, asparagus, mushrooms, corn, all in a creamy chili sauce, and that overtook the best thing I ever ate. And that was the $1 Million Mermaid salad at the Bubba Room. That is how good it was. It overtook a Bubba Room item. So, Doc Ford's, if you're watching, you have to put that on the menu. So, that was a special. As I said, they sell merch. And before Ian, the wait times were 30 to 45 minutes. This is a usually packed restaurant, just so you know. And I believe you can call for reservations. So we are now going to move on to our next restaurant. Tutti Pazzi's, one of the newer restaurants on the island, Italian themed. Um, I love almost every restaurant I go to on Sanibel Island. This was not one of them, unfortunately. I don't recommend it. However, There are reviews that are either really good or really bad. I'm never really in the middle, unfortunately. So this personally is a place I wouldn't recommend. I go to Doc Ford's, Mudbugs, Grandma Dodd's before this. Anyway, Tutti Pazzi's has pizza, sandwiches, pasta, traditional Italian coffee. It is a traditional Italian restaurant, more formal than Mazzaluna's. No, you can't color on the tables, not anymore. They took the fun away. You now have to sit and stare at your white tablecloth tables. No crayons for you. Not as fun as Mazzaluna's. What I do recommend is their cappuccino. That was actually it was decent. It was good. Their lasagna. My grandfather loved his lasagna. And what I heard, I didn't taste it, but from what I've heard, get their meat sauce over their marinara. I've heard their marinara sucked, so and their meat sauce was good. So get the meat sauce over the marinara if you can. What I don't recommend is the spaghetti and meatballs with marinara. My grandmother barely ate it. It just wasn't that good. And their prosciutto pizza. I love getting pizza with, items that sound delectable on it. This was not one of them. It had prosciutto, arugula, olive oil, balsamic, and red peppers. Everything came apart. It was very dry. It, it wasn't that good. And neither was our service. But anyway, there is live music. Sometimes there is karaoke night. There are karaoke nights. Um, this is a typically very busy restaurant. The wait time is 15 to 30 minutes. That's how long we waited. So if you want to try Tutti Pazzi's, give it a go. Go, but I don't recommend it. Alright, we're going to move on to our next restaurant. If you are looking for a restaurant that is off the island, right off the island, I'd recommend Bimini Bait Shack. I've only been there once, but the interior blew me away with their theme of Gilligan's Island, I want to say. Lots of fun decor. Um, it's right off the causeway. Very cool restaurant. There is in the bar, under the counter is an aquarium, and I thought that was cool. As well as next to the bar, there is a tip bucket that you crank. You put your money in, you crank it, and it goes up to the stage above the bar. There's a stage above the bar, and very cool interior. I'd recommend going just for the interior. Um, what I got was the oysters. They're oysters. They were good. And then I had half of my grandmother's club sandwich, and that was one of the best club sandwiches I've ever had. It was really good. What I don't recommend is their giggle water mocktail. It didn't make me giggle, it made me sad. It was very watered down. So I don't recommend their giggle water mocktail. Very casual restaurant, not a fancy restaurant. I heard it gets packed very quickly, and by I think 11:45, it was almost a full seating. So that is a restaurant I recommend off the island. Moving on. So there are many ice cream places on the island. Three for sure I know about. First is the Shack. It is a small ice cream parlor and is very popular. There's been a line each time I've biked past it or been in it. It's family owned. There's not a lot of seating inside, but there's a lot outside. And you can of course eat in your car. They have their signature shacket, which is it mixes an ice cream flavor with a topping, a little bit like a DQ Blizzard. But there are other ice cream spots, like Pinocchio's, which is in the Periwinkle Plaza. Many, 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 many ice cream flavors. Known for their purple cow, and I do remember their purple cow when I was little. It brings back little nostalgia. But there's also the Magic Bus. The Magic Bus is new. It is a new ice cream place. They've done very well with it. It is 70s hippie themed, and they have a cutout of a vintage Volkswagen bus that you can take your photo in. Um, Numerous ice cream flavors. I personally recommend the dark chocolate raspberry for the Magic Bus. They also have big milkshakes with topped with candy. They have candy to sell as well as drinks. Um, Magic Bus is very fun. Unfortunately, I didn't take footage of it because I didn't bring my phone, so that's on me. But for the shack, on top of their shacket, I do recommend their coffee toffee crunch. So those are the ice cream spots, and now we're gonna get into one of my favorite restaurants on the island. Grandmama Dots just opened to their little bit refurbished building. They did have a food truck, so they have been open technically for quite some time, but they have just now opened their building. So they're back better than ever. Um, this restaurant or seaside saloon is very popular with tourists and residents. The line starts 20 minutes before they open. I'm not even kidding you. There is a long line a little bit before they open. It's very popular. But while you're waiting for a seat, like I said with Captiva and looking at homes you can't afford, you can look at yachts you can't afford. Um, there is seating inside and outside. Um, so that's a bit on the interior. What I do recommend is the coconut shrimp. It is so good that it changed my opinion of coconut. I did not like coconut before I tasted the coconut shrimp. I refused to eat coconut, but I had a little taste of the coconut shrimp, and it was delicious. And not only did it change my mind, it is award winning. Just so you know. There's also the blue crab sandwich. That was my go-to. I unfortunately haven't seen it on the menu. Um, but it was a lightly fried whole blue crab, and I got it every time. It was so good, but not as good as their chocolate cake. Moist, delectable, and fudgy. This is number two on my chocolate cake list. Chocolate French tort from the Bub Room takes number one, but the chocolate cake from Grandma Dots is very good. It's moist chocolate cake, fudgy icing. I think two layers of it, and then right on the side of the chocolate cake is chocolate chips, drizzled in chocolate icing. Chocolate lover's dream. Let me tell. And whipped cream. Chocolate lover's dream. It is so good, so good. There is not an item I do not recommend. Although I personally didn't like their potato chips, but that's a side dish. We don't talk about those. There's not a dish I wouldn't recommend from Grandma Dots. So now we are moving on to probably the most boring section, just to let you know, the informational section. Although this is the most boring section, this is the not the most important. Restaurants is the most important, but a section that is needed, especially when Sanibel and Captiva are one of the most expensive places to vacation in the U.S. Money and budgeting is something we obviously need to talk about. Other than that, I'm going to be talking about some extra restaurants I didn't mention, as well as some extra businesses and hotels you can stay at. So, the first thing we will discuss is money and budgeting. Although this is a very important topic, I'm not going to delve too deep into it, and I'm just gonna tell you cut and dry. Sanibel and Captiva, with Captiva being more expensive, they both are one of the most expensive places to stay for a week vacation. Um, with that being said, for a week, excluding travel, expect to pay $2,000 to $5,000 for a week on Sanibel and Captiva. Sanibel and Captiva, Captiva being the first, as I've noted before, but I just want to emphasize one of the most expensive places to vacation in the U.S. With hotels, from my research, expect to pay about $200 to $500 a night. So that goes into that 2 to 5 grand. So $2 grand more if you're single, you go by yourself. 5 grand if you're, family, excluding travel. All these costs, it's not very difficult. They all depend on where you stay, what you do, what you eat. This budget just really depends on what you do in your week. Like, there are some free things. There's beaches, although you have to pay a fee to go. You're gonna quickly realize you're gonna have to pay for a lot of things on Sanibel and Captiva. Not a whole ton is free. And prices are more up than, let's say, I live in Ohio. Sanibel prices are a lot higher than Alliance, Ohio. So just be aware that there's a big price difference. So that's all I'm going to talk about money. It's just cut and dry. Cut and dry. Next, we're going to be talking about, I believe, extra restaurants. So there are a lot of restaurants I didn't mention because they're either not open or in the process of reopening. There's Cheeseburger, which is a 50s style restaurant, burgers and shakes, 50s cutouts of Elvis, Marilyn Monroe, Three Stooges. But they are known for their burger challenge, or their food challenge. The first one is a 1 pound burger challenge, and the second one is the 1 pound burger, handful of fries, and a 16-ounce milkshake. And guess who completed that? I did, without my dad. Anyway, you get a shirt if you complete it, as well as a picture with a huge stuffed burger that is put on the wall of fame. And my picture is floating somewhere in the ocean, but I think they're coming back with that. They should be opening soon. Next is Cielo's. I've never been, but I heard it's nice. There's Sips. There's Lighthouse Cafe and Over Easy Cafe. Those Over Easy Cafe is open now. Lighthouse Cafe is opening soon, and those are good for breakfast. I didn't put this in there because we're just unsure. Island Cow is planning to reopen. I think they're rebuilding. They burned down, unfortunately, but I hope that comes back. That was a good restaurant. Then there's Rosalita's Cantina, which is a Mexican restaurant, and then there's Traders. I did hear a drastic change in Traders. You now have to pay for your bread. If you don't want to pay for your bread, go to Timbers. Go to Timbers. I just heard Traders isn't really good anymore. And when you start making people pay for bread, no, it's not worth it anymore. I'm completely joking, but these are good restaurants from when they reopen. Traders is open now, I do believe. So next we're going to be talking about extra restaurants in Captiva that I didn't mention. So because we don't go on Captiva often, I don't really have that many restaurants to recommend you. However, these are the restaurants I came up with. So first is the Green Flash. Not really a standout restaurant, but it's a nice restaurant. The only time I remember when I went years ago, and the only thing I remember is when my sister and I went into the bathroom and found a mannequin right by the door that made us jump out of our skin. That was the only memorable thing I remember about Green Flash. Next is the Mucky Duck. Perfect for a Captiva sunset. Expect long wait times and sarcasm. I remember when we weren't seated by a window, and my mom was like, I wish we were seated by a window. And a few seconds later, we hear like rolling, and our server rolled out a pane of glass next to my mom. And that was the only thing I remember from then too. But the other one is Old Captiva House. I've never been, but I've only heard wonderful things about it. And then last is the Bubble Room. I've already mentioned this before, so it's not really on this list. But for the Bubble Room, I recommend the Flaming Silk Cheese for an appetizer and the $1 Million Mermaid Salad. The best salad, hands down, you will ever have. All the entrees are named after old Hollywood kind of things, pop culture references. Go take a tour of the restaurant. The rooms each have a different personality. Bubble Room is the best restaurant, hands down, on Captiva and Sanibel. Next, we'll be moving on to businesses, I believe. So both Sanibel and Captiva have a lot of businesses, some of which I didn't mention, some of them I don't need to mention, but here are just some that are just random. I picked at random. We have Hurdy Gurdy Art Gallery. There are a lot of art galleries on the island of both Captiva and Sanibel. There's Jerry's Groceries, which has a Starbucks in it. Jungle Drums, which I think is an art gallery. I don't know for sure, but I do know that they have a humongous chair that you can sit in, as well as some other sculptures nearby. There's Mobile Gas Station, Whitney's Bait and Tackle, and then lots of realtors and law firms. So in case you're looking at buying a home because you can't get enough of this paradise, or you're looking to sue somebody, there are a lot of realtors and law firms. There are a lot of condos or hotels you can rent on both islands, and I've been very fortunate to have grandparents that own a condo, so I have never really stayed at a hotel on Sanibel or Captiva. But here are the places to stay that I hear the most from. So there's Driftwood Inn, Island Inn, Periwinkle Park and Campground, Sanibel Moorings and Sundial does have a restaurant in it that's like a hibachi Japan. Tween Waters, Royal Shell, and VIP Vacation Rentals. So if you're looking for rentals, go to VIP. There's also Cassie Bell. However, that looks like it hasn't been touched since it was destroyed by the hurricane, so I'm not going to put it on there just yet. But these are some places to stay, places to look at, and as I said before in the money section, you're looking at $200 to $500 a night at any one of these inns. So just some extra information in case I didn't mention it. There are no traffic lights. I believe I told you this one before. All intersections are manned by a crossing guard, usually from 9 to 6, 10 to 6, something like that. And you could be waiting at least 15 minutes before you get to move. Just to let you know, 15 to 20-minute wait. There are no chains allowed. The only ones that were here before it was enacted was Dairy Queen, which has been destroyed. I don't know if that's coming back, but who needs Dairy Queen when you have like 3 other ice cream places you can go to? Subway, who needs Subway, and then Starbucks. There are 15 miles of beaches and 25 miles of bike paths. Biking is very common. I'd recommend taking a bike ride anywhere on the island. And then obviously there's a lot of walking on the beach, a lot of places to have your beach day at. The average temperatures in Sanibel are a high 70s, low 80s, even during the winter time. So it's always going to be warm. In case you're here long enough to join a club, which I doubt you will be, but this is a guide to Sanibel. There is the Kiwanis and Rotary, golf and tennis, boating and fishing, art league, and classic car. I did go on a classic car show and saw some really cool cars. My grandfather's part of it. For extra information, do go to this Chamber of Commerce. They have a lot more information, a lot more numbers than I'm giving you right now, but I'm only giving you the information that's necessary. So I think we have a bonus video next. I wonder what that might be.
This is another place I like to run, but it's just a loop-de-loop. Nothing too special or scenic. So right now we're in Spoonsbill Court, and it's like a nice little off the bike path kind of place you can go. and it's a shortcut to Grandma Dot's. But it's a nice little, it's very relaxing. No one's here, especially at like 6:30 in the morning, but yeah, so you get those views, and then it's just a nice little area. I thought I'd show you just because I like it. So those potholes you see are not really potholes, but they're like holes made from the hurricane. So when you're on a bike, you're gonna have to like watch out for those. There are a lot of them. I'm just trying to be informational. Still can't go in those yet. Maybe those ones. There's only a select few can run out still from the hurricane. And same with like those ones. And the ones with the blue tops. I don't think those are even open yet, but I think that just shows you like a year and a half after the hurricane, nothing's open. Like there are still a lot of restaurants that still need to open, and they're opening slowly but surely. But when I drive you around town, you're gonna see like how empty lots are from before. So there you go.
So that video was just to show you that there are some hidden areas you might not look at. Whether you're biking or running, I encourage you to go into the courts. If my mom and I didn't go into Spoonbill Court, we might not have known that there was a shortcut to Grandma Dot's other than walking around the entire island, or also a cute little bridge over the causeway. You might never have known. So my point is, go into the hidden places, go explore. That's what you're here to do. Don't just go on the average little path. At least once in a while, go explore. That's my point. Also, the bike paths are being fixed. They are fixing those holes, so you don't have to go like this and just weave in the bike paths. Also, what I didn't mention, what I saved for last, was the Shell Museum. It's not needed. You don't need to go. No, don't go. You don't need to see shells in a glass case when you could over to the beach that's less than a mile away and pick up, look at, caress, lick. I don't care what you do with the shells instead of look at them through a glass case. I've never understood it. If you're here less than a week, don't waste your time. I'd rather you go to the historical village or the art gallery than I would with the Shell Museum. You don't need to go. You don't need to go. That's the only place I've never understood. I've never cared for. I've never recommended, so I'm not going to recommend you to waste your time at the Shell Museum. However, I think once a year, for sure, there's an international shell show that I would go to. That you're seeing shells from all around the world, other than the Shell Museum where you're just looking at shells you can walk to the beach and look at, pick up, caress yourself. Okay? You don't need to go to the Shell Museum. Don't waste your time. So in closing, thank you so much for watching my guide on Sanibel Island and Captiva. I hope it was somewhat informational to you. I do have a website, an Instagram, and a Facebook. And if you want to keep updated, I do have a big project coming up, one that I've been working on since August, and it is going around all of Ohio. All state parks, the 3Cs plus Akron, and much more that will be divided up into many videos because we're looking at over 6 hours of footage now. But that's coming out in May or June. I haven't decided yet, and I don't know when the trailer's coming out, but that is my upcoming project. And then after that will be a project on Bermuda, and it will be this style. Oh, the state of Ohio will be vlog style, which it works so much better. But those are the projects coming up. I really enjoyed touring you around Sanibel and Captiva, and I hope you have a wonderful vacation when you go. Thank you so much.